This lesson is on the distributive property. Last week when you filled out your property sheets, this was one of the properties that you studied. We typically use the distributive property to get rid of parentheses in a complicated problem. If you look at the distributive property box, we have two versions of the property, one for addition and one for subtraction. Think of distributing as just giving to each term. So in the first example, A is going to be given to the B and the C. I'm going to multiply A times B, and then I'm going to add, and I'm going to multiply A times C. The same property applies to subtraction. It ends up being A times B minus A times C. So let's see this property in action here. Our first example, I'm going to be distributing the 6. So sometimes I take and draw arrows. I'll take the 6 and I'll show I'm going to distribute it to the x, and then I'm going to distribute it to the 2. So I want to multiply each thing by 6. What that means is we take 6 times x, you bring down the plus sign, and then you take 6 times 2. The result is 6x plus 12. The same thing happens in our second example, only this time I'm distributing the 7. And you don't have to write out all this work all the time. For example, you can just write out 7x minus 21. Our next example, we are distributing a negative 4. So here I'm going to take negative 4 times m to get negative 4m. And then I have to be a little bit careful here. I'm taking negative 4 times a negative 5. That's actually going to give me a positive 20. So you really have to watch your signs when negatives are involved. In our last example, we're distributing a negative 2. So first I do negative 2 times 3y to get negative 6y. And then I do negative 2 times a positive 4 this time to make a negative 8. You can leave it as negative 8. You can also write plus a negative. Standard notation would just be to say negative 6y minus 8, but either one is mathematically correct.